What's going on, man? Welcome back to the basement. I'm Ron, and I'm not going to lie with you guys. It's a little bit of a rough week in these waiver streets, but you guys know if it's Tuesday, I'm going to be giving you guys my top 10 must-add waiver wire pickups. We'll go through some running backs, some wide receivers, some tight ends, all under 50% owned on ESPN. Let's not waste any time. If you enjoy the video at any point, make sure you're down below, subscribe, leave a like. Let's go.
Thirsty, trying to choose. I know I'm pretty cool. My nitty bag.
Now, before we get into our priority ads for week 7, make sure you check out patreon.com/Ron Stewart. On there, I drop an article every single Tuesday going through all of my waiver targets, like 10 to 15 deep for every position, giving some notes, some stats on those players, and then most importantly, how much fab I would recommend bidding on each of those players. I don't have that number in my head right now because we kind of need more information. I need to sit down, sort of get that all figured out. This video just acts as sort of a primer for that article that I release on the Patreon. You also get my weekly rankings, my rest of season rankings, my start-sit streams on Sunday, all of that good stuff, plus all the dynasty stuff. That'll all be on patreon.com/Ron Stewart at the top of the description and the top of the comments below. Now, for these waiver wire pickups, we divide them into priority ads, guys that I would bid like 15% or more of my fab budget on. If it's rolling waivers, I would use like top 3 priority on these guys. Then we just have my ads, which are guys I would just let roll through waivers, pick them up for free, maybe snag them for like $1 or $2, your lower end guys. Now, when we talk about our priority ads this week, we do have a couple, or a few if you will. All right, yet again, I am coming to you guys the next day to give you Latavius Murray Monday Night Football news/updates, whatever. Latavius Murray this week will be a priority ad that I'm adding in late here. And this is because out of nowhere, we had a game where we thought Latavius Murray would just be the kind of change of pace back. Melvin Gordon would be the lead. Mike Boone would be the receiving back. And last night, Latavius Murray comes out here in his first game as a Bronco and sees 49% of the snaps, 15 of 19 running back carries. He only had 7.4 points, but still promising usage here, especially if Melvin Gordon is on the move, which is the biggest story here because Melvin Gordon was out there. He had 3 carries for 8 yards, and then that was it. He had his helmet off on the sideline. He was like sort of disgruntled. He made some comments after the game that were a little bit, not a shot at the Broncos, but a little bit of a, hey, what the heck was that? It seems like he might get traded. He might get cut. It does seem like at the very least his time in Denver is limited. So when we're talking about Latavius Murray, he is right now, I guess, like the presumed lead back on the Broncos, right? Of course, Melvin Gordon, it's not definite that he's done with the team. I would say it's probably 50-50 that he's done with the team. And even with those odds, I think you still have to go out there and make an effort to grab Murray. I'd have him right on the fringe of a priority ad here, just given the upside that he could see 15 or more touches, not every week, but pretty often if he was their lead guy. Now, of course, they could trade for a McCaffrey, a Kareem Hunt if they do get rid of Melvin Gordon, which would screw things up. And these are also the guys who thought Eric Saubert is better than Albert O. So we don't really know what they're thinking ever, if they even think that Latavius Murray is the guy within their own walls. But I think at the very least, Latavius Murray is a priority ad. I wanted to give you guys an update here to give you guys the most relevant information on waiver day that you can find anywhere on YouTube. So that is my Latavius Murray take here for anybody out there that, saw the stuff last night. None of these YouTube videos that talk about waivers are really covering Latavius Murray. So that is my take on Latavius Murray. I wouldn't go crazy. I don't think there's a ton of upside there, but it seems like he's the favorite to be the lead back for the Broncos, at least in the short term, as it seems like Melvin Gordon feels like his days are numbered here. Now, next, after this, we have Brian Robinson now. And the first one here is Brian Robinson Jr., who's kind of in the back of our minds after that Thursday night game. But Brian Robinson is the lead back for an NFL franchise, but yet he is available in over half of ESPN leagues. He ended up with 17 carries, 60 yards. I think that was under 4 yards per carry, so not super efficient, but 17 for 60 yards and a touchdown. It's clear at the very least that the coaches want him to have volume and to be their lead guy. He led all running backs on Washington with 47% of the snaps. You had McKissick taking about a quarter of the snaps. He took the passing down work. And then you had Gibson taking another quarter of the snaps, pretty much just being the change of pace guy. Now, Robinson doesn't have a massive ceiling because he doesn't have a receiving role. I don't think he's been targeted through 2 weeks at this point. Don't hold me to that, but he just doesn't really get used in the passing game because J.D. McKissick is already there and because it's not really Brian Robinson's bread and butter. So you have the between the tackles grinder and goal line back on a team that's not going to have a ton of leads and not going to win a ton of games. So it's not the best here, but it's still a good role we want off waivers, where he handled 4 of 5 snaps inside the 10. He handled 2 out of 2 snaps on the goal line. He will see like 10 plus rushes every week. He'll see all the goal line work. So he feels sort of like Raheem Mostert a few weeks ago before he fully took over that Miami backfield. He's not super sexy, but he's someone that you can put in 0 RB and hero RB lineups this week out the gates. Then our next priority ad is going to be Rondale Moore, who's only taken in 46.5% of ESPN leagues. He's now seen 5, 8, and 10 targets in his last 3 games, and he has back-to-back 10-point games here. Originally, Rondale wasn't going to be all that interesting because we had DeAndre Hopkins coming back, so you had D-Hop, you had Marquise Brown, you had Zach Ertz, all in front of Rondale Moore in the target tree, so that wasn't going to be super interesting. But now that Marquise Brown has an injury, which sucks, it seems like he'll be out anywhere from 6 weeks to the full season. So that opens up a lot of opportunity for Rondale Moore, where yes, DeAndre Hopkins will be back, but he's in a little bit of a different role where he'll be playing on the outside, sort of being the X wide receiver, while Rondale Moore will have more manufactured touches out of the slot at the line of scrimmage. So with Marquise Brown's injury, Rondale Moore should probably be rostered everywhere. It's clear that they want to get him involved. Then our last priority ad for week 7 is Wandale Robinson. And I always talk about this on our waiver shows, but we want rookies. They have the most upside at wide receiver off of waivers. We saw last year with Devonta Smith, Waddle, Elijah Moore, Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra St. Brown was a playoff winner. We've seen it with Ayuk. We've seen it with T. Higgins, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson. We've seen it a million times, even with like guys like Chase Claypool. These guys backload their PPR points and they give you a lot of upside in the fantasy playoffs. Wandale Robinson is just that. He comes back from injury in his first full game yesterday. He has 4 targets, 3 catches, 37 yards, a touchdown, 12.7 points. Now, that doesn't seem like a crazy amount of production, but he only ran a route on a third of the pass plays. Dable was kind of being cautious here. He actually came out after the game saying that they were being cautious because of the knee injury and that he should see more snaps as the weeks go on. Now, thankfully, on a per route basis, Wandale Robinson looks like a stud. He is the only rookie wide receiver right now with 5 or more targets, not named Drake London, with a 30% or better target per out run, a 2 or better yards per out run, and a 75 or better PFF receiving grade. That's very exciting. On a per route basis, he looks very good, and I can't see why, with Marcus Johnson, David Sills, just an absolute who's who of a wide receiver room, why he wouldn't climb up that depth chart and become really interesting on what's becoming a really fun and really high-scoring offense with these Giants. Then we have our ads, which are much yuckier than our priority ads. First up, we have Deon Jackson. We'll talk through the running backs, some wide receivers, some tight ends here. And with Deon Jackson, he went crazy. He was the RB1 on the week. He scored more points than Jonathan Taylor has scored since I think the stat was like week 11. He had 12 carries, 42 yards, and a touchdown, but it was through the air. He had 10 catches for 79 yards through the air, had 28.1 PPR points. Now, it's tough because he's not going to win the job here. You have Jonathan Taylor coming back. You have Nyheim Hines coming back. But if either of them miss any more time than just this week, he should be on rosters, probably even in lineups. Like, even if Nyheim Hines can't go, but Jonathan Taylor can, Deon Jackson with 10 catches this week, if he just takes over that Nyheim Hines role, he could be somebody fun in that like wide receiver 30 or running back 35 conversation for this week. We'll see what happens, but he's somebody that's interesting enough that he should be added just in case the Colts running backs can't go this week. Then we have Kenyan Drake, who had 19.7 points on 10 carries for 119 yards and a touchdown. I will say, I don't really think that sticks. He'll probably see like 8 to 10 touches like he was seeing in the beginning of the season without J.K. Dobbins, but I don't think you can really bank on that efficiency here with a guy like Kenyan Drake, who in the beginning of the year wasn't doing anything really. The bigger story here is J.K. Dobbins' knee tightened up. He didn't play in the second half. You can maybe blame it on like the MetLife turf, right? MetLife turf gave Sterling Shepard some issues where he like tore his ACL just like running in a straight line. So maybe MetLife turf is that bad, but this could mean that Dobbins misses time, which would open things for Drake. It would also open things for Gus Edwards, who I think is a great add as well. He was activated off of IR fairly recently. This backfield's a mess, right? You have Dobbins, who we don't know if he's hurt, if he'll play. We have Drake, who's looked good, but we know that that's only a flash in the pan. And then we have Gus Edwards waiting in the wings. As long as Lamar Jackson's out there and this offense is scoring points and being really efficient on the ground, these running backs have to be rostered, but I can't really tell you which one should be started this week. Next, we have Malcolm Brown here. And this Rams backfield has been pretty awful. No running back yesterday averaged more than 3.6 yards per carry. Akers was inactive. He said that he wasn't playing for personal reasons. It seems like maybe he wants to trade. It seems like retirement's up in the air. Really weird situation. It also doesn't seem like they want Henderson to be their bell cow. He had 15 of 25 opportunities, 71% snap rate. They were getting Malcolm Brown involved. They were getting Ronnie Rivers involved. There's a chance that they trade for a running back, but there's a chance that they don't. And just because we know that this offense with the Rams, they want a bell cow, they want to score the ball. If Darrell Henderson wants to go down, Malcolm Brown, you hate to say it, but he would be interesting. So I think that he needs to be picked up. And then I also think Kyren Williams needs to be picked up. Now, it is important to note, don't go out there, blow a bunch of fab on these guys because the Rams have a bye in week 7. So you won't be able to use any of them until week 8. There's a chance that they go into the bye and they trade for a running back. Cam Akers isn't on the team. There's a lot of variance that can happen here. So I don't mind just sort of stashing the Rams running backs and hoping for the best because they could come out of the bye and trade away Akers, but then just have a pretty empty backfield of Henderson, Kyren Williams, Malcolm Brown, which in that case, Kyren Williams needs to be rostered as well. I think he's a good pickup where he was a decent prospect. He kind of fell because of a bad combine, but he reminds me of kind of an Eno Benjamin where he's a slower pass-catching back out of Notre Dame that has like a decent analytical profile. If he gets worked in, this room is so wide open outside of Henderson, he could be the immediate handcuff on a pretty good team. Then our last running backs to add here are Deonta Foreman and Chuba Hubbard. With all the Christian McCaffrey trade buzz, he goes out there against LA, a team that needs running backs bad. He goes crazy. He might not even leave LA. They might trade for him. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I don't think teams really want to give up a ton for a running back, so McCaffrey might not get traded, but the Panthers just traded Robbie Anderson. They're willing to move pieces. We'll see if McCaffrey gets traded, but the trade deadline is November 1st, so you don't have to hold these guys for a long time. You pick up Deonta Foreman, you pick up Chuba Hubbard, you hold on to him until the trade deadline happens, and you hope Christian McCaffrey gets moved. Because if he gets moved, they wouldn't really have a reason to go pick up another running back. It would probably be a two-headed backfield here between Foreman and Hubbard, and one of them would probably be extremely usable for fantasy. Now, if you ask me which one I prefer, I think both are great pickups, but I would prefer Foreman for now. He had 5 opportunities to Hubbard's 3 yesterday, and he had a 23% snap share to Chuba Hubbard's 9%. It's still clear that neither one of them is like the clear number 2 here, so that's why I think they're both great ads, but again, I would lean Foreman. Now, speaking of Panthers playmakers, we have Robbie Anderson here, who the Cardinals trade for after Marquise Brown's injury, which is pretty interesting here, where Anderson gets a quarterback upgrade from Baker Mayfield, from P.J. Walker, from Jacob Eason to Kyler Murray. Now, he hasn't had a top 60 finish since week 1. You can maybe put that on quarterback play. You can maybe just put that on Robbie Anderson not being amazing. I can't say he'll be super relevant on the Cardinals, but he should be sort of like a DJ Chark or Zay Jones, where he'll be like a rosterable wide receiver. He'll have his spike weeks. Cardinals need field stretchers bad. All they had was Marquise Brown. I mean, Greg Dortch, AJ Green, they're not going to get downfield and catch passes. At least Robbie Anderson can kind of give you like a 40-yard bomb here and there. I think he'll have his spike weeks. He'll probably be better in best ball, but he's still somebody that probably should be rostered just in case if he does sort of flash in a new spot. Then we have Alec Pierce here. I always talk about this. Rookie wide receivers, they have upside. We talked about it with Wandale Robinson. So I think Pierce is a little bit cheaper than Wandale Robinson, and he's still worth betting on. He looked really good last week. He had a little bit of a down week here where his route participation sort of stalled out around 70%, but he now has 4 straight games with 5 or more targets. He has 3 straight games with 12 or more PPR points, and this week he only hauled in 3 of 7 targets, but 7 targets is still good. He had 49 yards and a touchdown, which is good, and he's this fun upside profile that's worth betting on. He's like this field stretcher. He's athletic. It's tough because this offense isn't great, but if they let Matt Ryan throw the ball like 50 times again, or if they let him throw the ball more than he has in the past, he has a path to upside. But again, you're just kind of betting on the talent here, hoping the situation kind of, the ping pong balls bounce in your direction. Then for our 10th must add here, I'll give you guys 3 for the price of 1. We'll go through some tight ends real quick. I like Mike Gesicki, who had 7 targets, 6 catches, 69 yards, and 2 touchdowns for 24.9 points. The gritty was hilarious. People were like on Twitter like mad about the gritty. I don't know if I gotta imagine that he thinks that it looks funny, but it's hilarious, dude. He whips out the gritty and it's like so awful that you have to die laughing on the couch when you see it on Red Zone. He saw a season high in route percentage at 75%. If that sticks, he'll be a streamable tight end on a really fun offense. We just have to see that stick, which is pretty much the story of the day with these tight ends. If the route participation holds for these 3 guys, they will be streamable. Next, we have Hunter Henry, who even with Jonnu Smith in the lineup, he still saw 97% of the snaps. He saw 75% of the routes. He had 16.1 PPR points. Again, if the route participation sticks, He'll be streamable. And then Robert Tonyan, 76% of the routes, a season high for him. He had 10 catches for 90 yards, 19 PPR points. He benefited from Randall Cobb not being in the game, but maybe that route participation sticks moving forward, which would make him a streamable tight end. Now, that is going to do it for us today, fellas. Again, as always, if you want to know exactly how much fab I'm bidding on each and every single one of these players, that'll be on patreon.com/Ron Stewart. It'll be in the comments. It'll be down below in the description as well. But if you want to contribute to the channel without checking out the Patreon, like, subscribe, comments go a long way. So if you enjoyed, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And as always, I will see you guys in the next one.
I got the juice, I got the juice. Channel, Chatham's on. Foolies glad I'm home. Even my haters kinda glad I'm on. Rest in peace to my vagabond. Rapper, song, singer, suspended, subpoena from misdemeanors. Dream